Hi, Cody.
Hey, Francis.
Today I have a guest, Cody Hyman, here with me. This morning I just had this strong prompt to invite Cody to come up to this episode to share with me and probably with everyone what has been passing through you in the last few weeks or maybe the last few days, because I know a little bit about what you've been going through, and this morning when you saw me and told me that you just really want to allow yourself to rest in this deep trust and want today to be in that experience, I just feel like there's almost what you're saying is, because I can feel that you were in that experience when you were talking to me. So that was the prompt for me, and so I guess I just feel curious actually. Can you share with me a little bit about what has been moving through you and what has been going on with you recently?
With trust, or?
Well, probably just what has been a pretty strong lesson recently, or something that is really present.
Well, I feel like this whole year has been a very strong lesson in trust and developing trust. It feels like I've been going through the stages of development of trust as outlined in the Course. And I actually set that intention last December without even knowing it, but I just had this really deep prayer where I just wanted to feel like I can just completely trust the Spirit and see that there's no sacrifice in this path. And it seems with that, I've been spending the whole year in doubt, having all this doubt flesh up to be looked at and released, and just so much intensity with that doubt, just feeling completely abandoned by God or teased or really shut out from any happy, forgiven experiences. Just, feeling this deep isolation. And it's really been hinged on this persistent assumption that I would keep having of, okay, I have to have the form look right to see that I can trust. I have to have outcomes to prove that I could trust Spirit. And it feels like it didn't really work because, seeing with the ego's filter, all I saw was excuses why I should not trust, why I should doubt, why I shouldn't, be in this path or give my life to serving God. And it just felt like I was able to see the full extent of that all through this year of that perspective, the ego's perspective of, okay, I'll trust when I could see the witnesses. And then this morning, I just woke up with it so strong that I just needed to give myself so fully and deeply to trust every moment of today. And then it felt like it was softening how I saw everything in my life, everything that's been happening. And it's like, feeling really detached from outcomes. And it feels like that thought that you have to set the intention first. As you practice forgiveness, you have to set the intention to forgive first, hold that out front. And that's how it feels with trust. You have to set that intention first. I'm going to trust, and I'm going to see a reflection of that trust.
I like that. This is like, you can recall almost end of last year, you said this prayer that you want to trust the Spirit, and yet you want to see witness or the evidence that the Spirit is looking after you and is taking care of you, and that is almost like a test. I want to test out the Spirit and see whether it's worthy of my trust. And what you were saying is, today you had a shift, but all these years was what had been on your flashed up onto your awareness is actually things that the doubt and the thought that you are not loved been up in your awareness. Is that true?
Yeah, it felt like there were a couple aspects to that prayer. It was both a test, wanting to like have some kind of security in Him, but it felt like the deeper prayer of it was really just wanting to feel safe and taken care of, just safe in God's arms. And I feel like what occurred this past year, all this, undoing and dismantling and rug pulls, that was the development of trust, in that it was, pulling the rug on things that I would have put my faith in the world, and seeing that I can't put my trust in that. I can't misinvest my trust. And yeah, that was the undoing, and it brought up all this darkness, but it really, redirects my mind in a more vertical sense to trusting Spirit in the moment.
Yeah.
And it feels like, what's coming to mind is this this parable in the Bible about the foolish man building his house on the sand, and the wise man built his house on the rock. And it's like the Spirit is the rock. It's what's consistent. It's what we can rely on. And the changing forms in this world are the sand that are vulnerable to change and to be, washed out from under you. So it's like, giving myself to that experience of choosing to build my foundation on the rock, of having my faith in Spirit now.
I do want to invite you to share a little bit of the darkness that you went through, just because I know how intense that was. And when you were in that darkness, it's almost like very tempting to lose perspective of, this is actually really just a block that's coming up to be seen and released. But it's very tempting to get caught in the blocks and really perceive that being the truth and reality, and lose faith in the Spirit. And I know that you actually walked through some of these really intense beliefs and intense specifics, and I thought that would be really helpful for a lot of people to see, what you have been going through to reach this point. Do you want to share a little bit?
Yeah. Well, and again, one of the prayers at the beginning of this year is that I really wanted to see that I couldn't mess anything up. And I was just, specifically in the context of relationships, I've had this very consistent fear and belief that I always mess up relationships, that I don't know, I just encourage a disconnect with relationships instead of like a communion and connection. And actually it came to mind this morning that I was given an experience similar to that movie, The Legend of Bagger Vance, where Bagger Vance tells Dejuna, why don't you just hit it way out into left field and put yourself out of your misery? And it never really hit me until this morning that, that was what was given to me earlier this year, is, something came in for me to completely have all of my insecurities and defenses and fears come up in these old patterns, so that I can so completely feel like I messed it up and face all of that, that, I can actually just release that fear and see that it's okay, I can come out of that and come to the experience that I can't mess it up. Feel like things can seem to go so wrong in form, but still be in this present miracle like in that movie. Just, there's no order of difficulty, and you can just be released from that. And so yeah, that was one of the major pops and
relationship.
Yeah, and that seeing that, yeah, I can't mess it up, that I can have all of this stuff come out, all of these patterns and behaviors of fear coming out, and it's okay, that it was perfect. I didn't take a wrong turn. It needed to come out to be looked at and let go. And yeah, that's been a pretty big miracle for me this year.
And what about the other thing that you just mentioned to me before we started filming, Sunset Limited, when you said you just watched that movie last night?
Yeah, there's been, with all this darkness coming up, it has been a very persistent, I don't know what you call it. It's like a persistent state of mind of just deep, dark depression and suicidal thoughts, and just looking to that for comfort or solace. And yeah, this whole past week I've been seeing suicide examples everywhere. Robin Williams just committed suicide, and a few days ago, while joining with Nikita and Ginny at the campground, we saw a bird slam into the window and kill itself while we were joining. And it's like I'm seeing all these symbols, just reflecting that thought of what it means to take that path. And then yes, last night I was guided to watch this movie, and I didn't know what it was about, but it was these two guys talking, and one of them had interfered with the other committing suicide. And it was these two thought systems playing out between the two. One of them was a man of God and was sharing about Jesus and the Bible, and going beyond that even, with thoughts of just, it's not even about the Bible, it's just about like the gold at the base of who we are. But and then there was the other thought system playing out as well from the guy who was completely an atheist, and I was really watching what he was sharing in this movie, and it was so desolate. It was so condemning of all brothers, and recognizing that he saw in himself or saw in his brothers what he hated in himself, and did still want to just hate and kill and condemn his brothers. And it was just a dialogue exchange between the two, and I was just watching this play out, and it felt like the dialogue that's been in my head for a while of the two thought systems. One, really finding this sort of kind of sadistic comfort in thoughts of expecting the worst to happen, expecting traumas to keep happening, and to commit suicide. And I've been facing the depth of that, and I've been expressing it a lot, so it feels like it's very I don't know what the term is. It feels like it's been released, it's been aired out, so it's like expressing it and letting that come up and out is really, I guess, reduced or released that desire. And then on the other side, it's like in this movie, I'm watching the Holy Spirit character talk about how things we look for in this world to find something that we think we want, we don't actually want. Like alcohol, people drink alcohol and they don't even want the alcohol. They really, and he said this, they really only want the love of God. And the alcohol is just a way to try to access it, but it doesn't really offer it. And it's like all of the symbols in this world don't really offer the love that we're looking for. And it feels like a distracting, stressful way to find that love. And I was just feeling that strongly this morning, that it really is seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto you. And it's just going for God first, going for that connection first, and letting everything else be as it is, and just finding your contentment and fulfillment in that. And yeah, so that's been the washing. I mean, there's been a lot of facing this intensity and all this regret and guilt and this self-hatred. I mean, just so much of looking at this extent of self-hatred and wanting to just punish the ego or punish the self, and yeah, just being gently unwound from that with these movies that have been coming in. That's really not necessary. You can just choose another way. You can just choose the trust and just rest in that.
Yeah, I love it. Like every time we seem to go through this long journey and reach the light, and then in that we really see there is no need for this long journey. It's almost like the lessons is so simple and the way out is so simple, and yet I also feel like that seeming journey is also necessary. You know what I mean? Like when the mind doesn't seem to be able to be in the light consistently, it's like I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't really feel helpful to jump from A to Z. For example, if you were in that phase of really facing all the obstacles, which is, the heart of your prayer is to allow all of these, blocks that I'm not even aware of to be released, and how to release them is the first step is to have to be aware of them. And then when they come up, it's actually not really even possible to say, you're the Son of God and just snap out of it. But there seems to be really necessary steps. And sometimes I think, if you feel you are the victim of this world, and this victimhood is so deep, maybe just to be able to voice it and to be able to express the hatred or the anger underneath it is a extremely helpful progress from this victimhood and thinking like I'm small and I'm weak, I can't be anything, or I can't be loved, and yet there is all this energy and emotion underneath it, and the helpful step to move out of that victimhood maybe is to express the anger. And sometimes people think that's not good at all, expressing anger or expressing anything that is not spiritual. That's not it. So it's almost like this want to be bottled down to say you either are in the light or it's not good. But what I'm trying to say is they're always like move towards the light, and you want to encourage whatever phase that you're in. Maybe it's a phase that you're really angry, but it's a major step forward from being stuck in the victimhood. And then from that point on, when that phase is fully moved through by we give ourselves permission to just allow that to come out in the way it wants to, then this anger phase is no longer be held. We don't really have a lot of charge underneath that, and all these thoughts are not really seen as true anymore. So I just feel like there is a grace, like Spirit, as soon as you said this prayer that I want to experience the love of God, and I don't know what it takes, but everything is set in motion by the Spirit. It's just when we seem to stuck in the darkness, that is the most intense phase, but there is still a movement. Yeah. And sometimes you probably can relate to this, like when we're in that intense emotion, the last thing we want to do is to stay in the feelings. And there there will be a lot of stories created in the mind, and the story is actually a way to detach from the feelings, to run away from the feelings by naming it and create a story so that I can just think about the story, and reduce this actual experience of the feeling. But we don't really know that stuck in the story actually perpetuate whatever that is. Like you never really walk through it or even allow it to go. You actually lock it in, the feeling. But I don't want to experience fully at this point, so I'm just gonna hold it there and see it out there on the screen and in a storyline. So I think, I know that like a story around relationship or not being loved or gonna mess up the relationship, or even a suicidal thought, that can be a very intense storyline that just justify this feeling and also keep this feeling at bay, that we never really tap into it fully.
Yeah, to keep it manageable.
Yeah, keep it manageable. Yeah. Would you say that is suicidal thoughts as well? The suicidal.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like, and I completely know that suicide wouldn't be any end or absolution, but it's just the thought that you can contain the pain with it, that you can,
by thinking suicidal thoughts,
by imagining, of committing suicide in the future. Okay, I'm going to limit how long I have to face this darkness. I'm going to limit it to this date. After this point, if things haven't changed, it's over. And it's just a defense against really allowing whatever to play out in the script, even if it seems like periods of some scenario that you're not interested in. And yeah, it's a time defense, thinking, okay, I'm going to defend myself from experiencing this in the future. And that's how it's just a present defense of the darkness. It's putting yourself on the timeline and thinking your salvation's in the future with that, instead of just really acknowledging and feeling the deep present abandonment, the deep fear. And yeah, it's totally a story. It's kind of a shallowing of the feelings.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about suicidal thought that way, but yeah, it is like any other stories. Like I do not want to tap into it fully now and think about future escape, actually, because it's too intense. But I want a future escape, and I'm gonna leave whatever. I can leave this context of healing. I can leave these people, or I can just leave this body. But leaving is present defense. Yeah, I really like what you said as well about, it can seem to go wrong in form, and it can really seem like going wrong, but nothing really going on, because even though the form take its own turn, that's not really what you expected, but just allowing it to unfold and allow yourself to be able to be really present, actually open up something else, something within, and something very, very deep. And that is the whole reason why we're in it, because the form, managing the form seems like a protection to be able to look deeper. There is something that is untapped, and there's some kind of fear around that. We don't even know why we're protecting the form, why we want to even be in control of form. We never really question that. But there is a fear of if we're not in control, then what? And that's, I feel like it's what you're saying is form can go wrong, but it's then what can be truly opened up, and you really dive into a place that you have never been before.
Yeah, the undefined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what the whole thought around suicide is feeling like I want to control something, you know, if it's my experience of being in this world or not. And yeah, just today feeling like I'm giving myself fully to this present trust. It feels like it is that opening up. I'm not going to make any conclusions about anything. I'm going to trust that everything is perfect, everything is helpful. And that was one of the stages of development of trust, is seeing that all changes are helpful. And it's just, yeah, sinking back further and further in the mind, recognizing that, and it feels like in that it's the experience of content. It's just the experience of restfulness, resting in trust, and the forms are irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was just sharing with me like his days and life has been so busy, like full on, with a lot of things to do. And then recently he had this experience, like a heart-opening experience, almost like, I don't know whether it's a full-on relationship, but just someone came into his life, and there is this beautiful, amazing, mystical kind of love feeling. And his workload almost like at the same time just naturally go like reduced by itself for no reason, and so he had all of a sudden had a lot of time to explore, to spend time with this girl, and to just allow whatever to unfold. So it's like a new element comes to his life, and the other part of it started to adjust itself to facilitate whatever new wants to come. And yet he was saying to me that it's not like it's all or nothing kind of feeling. Every day it still changes. Like some days that he suddenly started to have all kinds of requests, and the tasks build up, and he would have no time to spend with this person, and there was no way he could avoid all these tasks on those days. But in the end, he realized, at the end of the day, he realized that not spending time was actually perfect. It's almost like everything in his life is adjusting itself, and everything works together for good. So when he was talking to me about that, I was thinking, this mystical love feels great. Like I'm seeing that spirit is behind it, and spirit is behind the task, the workload going down to support that. But really, it still can't be like some part of the life is good, is love, and some other part is not love. If spirit is behind everything and it's adjusting everything, then when the task is taking all his time, it has to be love as well. And when there is no task, so he spent time with this person, that has to be love as well. Spirit is behind all of it, and all is this mystical love. Really, that's there is no difference in content. Could be difference in form. And sometimes I know in my own experience, when I had my job, I remember the first job I had was extremely demanding. It was like maybe 15 hours a day, and I would work till probably midnight every day in the office. And I loved it. I had no other thing in my life. I loved my job, and I loved what I was doing. It was my love affair at that point, until I had a boyfriend. And I hated my job because I started to compete. Like in my mind, the time thing, like I would rather choose that than this. And there's like this differentiation that's created. But now I'm just seeing things are adjusting itself, and the spirit is really behind everything, and really like everything is this invitation to tap into this mystical love. every day, all day long.
It's like whatever is given right now is the portal to that love.
That's it. And that's where, when you said this morning, I'm going to trust, and I just felt, yeah, we're going to trust, because, if there is a difference, there's competition, we're competing with what we prefer to be love or to be fun, and we compete in terms of time or in terms of anything, then we actually are saying, whatever that's happening now is not the spirit. And and I just really feel, let's just trust and see everything is provided by spirit, and everything is the same in essence. They're all for us to experience this mystic and this love, this openness. And also, it is actually all for us to experience the worthiness. We are worthy. We're not deprived of love. And that's the other day we talked a little bit about it. I don't think you were here, but just depression is the belief that you're deprived of something, and deprived of love, or deprived of opportunities or inspiration, or whatever that is, the object. But that's the feeling of, I'm deprived of something. Whatever that's right in front of me is not. It's not the spirit. It's not the love. And I kind of can see the power of mind when you were saying, when blocks are coming up, and those blocks are the beliefs, and thoughts that we still believe. If I believe that I'm not enough and I'm deprived of, I'm this separate body, of course that's underneath it, but on top of it, I am deprived of love, and I see through this filter, and I collect evidence to support this one belief, really. And that's difficult, because everything that you're seeing is constantly reinforce this one thought or this one belief in your mind.
Yeah, and that's the choosing again, just choosing to align with spirit and trust. That's why it's like turning on the light. Instead of peering into the darkness. Yeah. And I just feel like there is really nothing wrong. There's nothing to correct, except you have to walk through it fully, just trust that spirit is behind the healing process, and everything happens to facilitate this to happen. It's not a mistake that things are happening, or I'm seeing through these filters. It's not a mistake. It's just to give it permission, and you don't run away from it. On one hand, it is dark. On the other hand, you started to create more stories and get caught in the stories, but just allow this feeling to move through and to be fully present. And you just move through it until you see the truth around all of it. So sometimes from a point of that I'm probably holding back a little bit from expressing my love, and then it could be really helpful to the next move into this place where you give yourself permission to just allow the whatever you feel to flow out. It doesn't really, like what you're saying today to me, that you want to
even just to express that this deep trust that you started to feel today, and you want to be basked in that, and being that gratitude, being that love, being that anything, and just even tap into this place that you are sharing it with people, and you don't hold back. So nothing is holding back or held back by you. Then you allow that flow to come out.
Yeah, it feels like that's taking place too. It's like it's more and more painful to try to hold love back. It's so uncomfortable that if it has to be expressed, it has to be expressed. And yeah, it's like the option for anything else is dropping.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I think I know people or friends like in our communities even facing this fear, or like love is not returned when I express. Like every time I express love, I feel like foolish, or it's not reciprocal, and there's the embarrassment, or this thought that I'm not worthy of love, and that's where the temptation comes up to hold back. But as I said, it could just be another phase forward, like from constantly holding back, and this is just when you step into it, of course all that thing that used to hold you back now is coming up and seemingly reflected back by other person, but it's a step forward. So because you are allowing that to be seen and to know, okay, that's the very reason I didn't want to do this. See, this is the very reason, but you're doing it anyway. It doesn't really matter, because the most important thing is you don't hold yourself back because of those things in your mind. And then next step, okay, being reflected back, they're not hidden anymore. And then keep moving forward.
Yeah, it feels like there has been a washing. I have been seeing anytime there is wanting something, anytime there are expectations, having some kind of reciprocity with love. And I feel like it's less common now, but it feels like the washing taking place is seeing that, that there's like a true love coming through, where I'm just falling in love, and I don't want anything.
Right.
I just want to keep giving this love, keep letting it pour through.
Yeah. Is there anything more you want to say about this deep trust that you tapped into today?
Yeah, just one other thought is that something I noticed earlier was you can still remain in that deep trust, like seated in that deep trust as darkness comes up. And then you're really recognizing that it's not pain for pain's sake. It's like that analogy, when the clouds block the sun, you can't see the sun, you can't see the light at all. And when you're trusting while you're going through the darkness, it's like you do acknowledge the light's there. And you can even see the light in the midst of it. And then it's just so much more gentle facing the darkness, and you recognize that it's coming through. It's not, you're not condemned to a lifetime of that experience. You're not stuck in it. You're letting it pass through.
Yes.
For release.
Yes. Thank you for being a demonstration of it. Like, just keep moving through it and allow it to pass through. It's inspiring. Thank you, Cody.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for being the demonstration of trust for me. Yeah, you've been that symbol for me for years now.